So this is Quentin Payne welcoming you to Legendary Business Owners interview with John Corcoran, who, amongst other things, was a writer for the Clinton administration in the USA. He's also a contributor to Forbes, Lifehacker, The Huffington Post, Business Insider, and a whole bunch more. John runs a small business and real estate law firm, but I came to know him through his knowledge and love of relationship building, and in particular, building relationships with VIPs. So as Steve Jobs said, A players pick A players, B players pick C players. Or, as Guy Kawasaki, Apple's chief technology evangelist, improved upon back in the day, A players pick A plus players. So going after relationships with people who can connect you to a wider audience is one of the best ways of gaining leverage in any business. And John is a renowned expert on the subject, so welcome, John.
Quentin, thank you so much for having me. Those are some great quotes, by the way. I hadn't heard those before, so I like that.
Nice.
Yeah,
they're my favorite.
Yeah, honored to be here.
That's really good. So, John, what's your background? How did you end up working for the Clinton administration in the first place?
Sure. Yeah, it's an unusual story. So I have a kind of a weird background. So I came from a humble middle-class family, no special connections or anything like that. My parents weren't big donors to political parties or anything like that. And I didn't go to any Ivy League school. I actually flunked kindergarten, if you can imagine. I'm not exactly sure how you flunk kindergarten. Like,
nice.
It's not like you're giving long tests or anything like that. And in spite of that, I've had some amazing opportunities in my career. And part of the reason is because when I was growing up, I had one of the defining experiences in my childhood is my father got laid off a couple of times. And it was always a painful experience for my family. And I didn't want that to happen to me. So I studied successful people. And one of the things that I found that successful people all did is they did a really good job of building relationships with the right people, right? And so I applied that to my life, and by 20 years old, I've been an early employee of DreamWorks, working for Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Geffen. 23 years old, I was a writer in the Clinton White House. I've worked in the heart of Silicon Valley. I've been a speechwriter to the governor of California, and I've run my own business for the last 4 years, built my reputation as an expert online and a blogger and a podcaster. And all of it, the common thread throughout it all was building relationships, particularly with influencers and VIPs who you admire, people who, you read their book, you love their book, and you want to get to know them.
I find throughout an entrepreneur's life, they read a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I should say, it's not just authors. So an influencer is whatever you want it to be, however you define it. It could be someone in your local community who's very successful. It could be someone in the same job position to you. It could be someone who owns a company in your local community. Or it could be someone who's internationally famous. So it's really, whoever you decide with some intent and with some real intentionality is someone that you want to get to know for the purposes of your business, for growing your business, for increasing your revenues. Who are people, the ideal people that if you could have some kind of business alliance with this person, a mutual favor type of thing where you help one another, who would that be? I help people to get really clear on who those people are and then to take steps to develop those relationships and turn those relationships into revenue opportunities for their business.
I guess that's what led you to starting smartbusinessrevolution.com, which was back in 2008, as far as I can see.
It kind of was a result of other people saying to me, John, how did you get to know so-and-so? How did you develop relationships here? How did you get a job at 23 years old in the White House? Those sorts of things. And once I started sharing my strategies, which I didn't feel were anything special, then other people really started resonating with it, and they really enjoyed it.
What really makes a VIP, apart from sort of celebrity splashes all over the newspaper?
Sure. And that's not what we're talking about. I mean, if you're talking about, like, I want to go meet Justin Bieber or Kim Kardashian, that's a completely different matter. What I talk about is identifying really in an intentional way with forethought the right people that you need to know. Because I think so often our network is defined by chance and happenstance. We literally just surround ourselves. We're surrounded by people who are our neighbors, so they chose to live next door to us, or they're in our office building, or they work for the same company we work for. All those things are out of our control. But today we've got so many great tools that are within our control that we can decide really intentionally, this is someone who I want to build a relationship with. I think that it would be really helpful to my career in the long term, and then we can go out and actually do those things. So I think that's a lot better approach, really a lot better approach for guiding your own business and your own career.
Yeah, makes total sense. So then on the same vein, how would you start to look for VIPs within your own industry?
Sure. Well, this is one thing that I highly recommend people do is I highly recommend you create what I call a conversations list. And it's simply a list of the 50 people who you would like to build a relationship with over the course of the next 12 months. And it could be people that are existing clients, past clients. It could be people that you want to become a client or a customer. It could be friends of friends. It could be an author. It could be a business owner. It could be someone in the same position as you have right now or one level above, someone who's more successful than you are. There's a lot of different categories of the types of people that you might include. It could be someone who's just a connector in your community who knows a lot of people and you want to get to know them. And what that does is, you only have to spend 15, 20 minutes doing it, but it's being intentional. So it's actually taking the time to sit down and write out a list of all of these people. And I've got a couple of blog posts on my site where I give a little bit more advice on how you can do that. But doing that gives you a roadmap. It gives you a roadmap of the people who you want to deepen a relationship or establish a relationship with over the course of the next 12 months. Rather than from day to day, week to week, you just continue to develop relationships with people who are not really aligned with your business goals. And again, we're not talking about friendships here. It's fine to let your friendships develop organically. That's completely fine. But when we're talking about for business, relationships for business, I think you should be more intentional about it.
Yes, yes. So I know from the past, one of the things people find difficulty with is finding actual contact details. I know we can jump on LinkedIn and stalk people that way, but is there any other way of getting hold of somebody's, even just their email address?
Yes, and that's something that a lot of people struggle with. There are a lot of resources out there for finding people's email addresses, but what I say to people is, really finding the email address, that's not the biggest barrier. Some people think it's the biggest barrier, but it's really not the biggest barrier. The biggest barrier for most people is mindset. It's a feeling of inferiority or a fear of failure or a fear of rejection. That will stop you 90% of the time versus like maybe not being able to find an email address will stop you maybe 10% of the time. And there are other ways to contact people. You can contact them through direct messaging, through Facebook or through LinkedIn or through Twitter or something like that. Or just not even through direct messaging, just commenting on social media in some way or another. So that's not really the biggest barrier. More people stop themselves from reaching out to someone that they don't know, that they admire from afar, that they'd like to get to know, because of a fear of failure, because of a fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, than not being able to find an email address.
The mindset is completely right. The people I coach, the mindset is always the same thing. It's getting people on a level playing field and remembering we're all humans.
Yes.
We move away all the chattels, all the stuff we own, and we're just a bunch of people. So once you have that mindset, you've got to make this first approach, and I guess with the right mindset, that's going to be easy, isn't it? But
yeah.
What would you do? Any advice?
Well, one of the things I recommend people do is to grease the wheels ahead of time. So what I mean by that is before you send an email, see if you can find a way for them to get to know you. And so there's a lot of ways you can do that. Social media is definitely a great way. If you don't have that, you can also go to conferences or go to an event where the person you'd like to connect with is hanging out. If you've decided in advance this is an individual that I want to meet, like we were talking about Jay Abraham beforehand. Let's say that Jay Abraham is someone that you want to meet. Well, going to a conference is a great way to meet Jay Abraham in advance. And maybe you could try and grease the wheels by writing a blog post where you mention him. This is something very easy to do. You can write a blog post where you just mention him or talk about some product of his or a book, review his book or something like that. One I really like, I'm a big fan of this. Anyone can do this. So basically doing a book review on video on YouTube. And you can do this directly into YouTube. You don't even need any special software. Every laptop you buy these days comes with a built-in webcam. You just look directly into the camera, you hold up the book, like Jay Abraham's book, and you do a 2-minute book review. And then you upload it to YouTube, and then maybe you send an email to that person, or you send it to them on Twitter, and then you're also doubling as marketing too. So this is you reaching out to that person, but then the video will exist on YouTube. You could have a link back to your own website. So if someone likes your review, then they go and read more about you on your website.
Perfect. So you've got the first approach. We found the VIP. We've greased the wheels, as you say. Perhaps done a review on the website, contacted them. Then you've got all the follow-up sequence. I guess this is back to mindset, isn't it, really? But how would you approach that?